So now, let us just, what we have just done now, let us go back to our circle and indicate we are going to indicate a coordinate. We will use, of course, we'll have XY here. So let me write, let's write our XY, X comma Y coordinate, which is this point. And let's attach a value to it. So I need one value, either the value for X or the value for Y. But the value we are going to have has to be less than 1. Okay, let me create one for myself. So we can have X to be square root of 2 divided by 2. We don't know the value of Y. You may use your calculator. You can use your cell phone calculator to divide square root of 2 divided by 2 so that you can see whether it is less than 1. All right. Can you do that quickly? Use your cell phone camera calculator quickly. Just square root of 2 divided by 2. Let's see what it is. It has to be less than 1. You want me to pull out my own calculator?
0.7.
Okay, 0.7 is less than 1. So that means that's a good value. Okay, so now what we are going to do is the question can be asked. Here's how they generally frame the question. They will say, considering a unit circle with the coordinates given as, they will write the coordinate. Determine the Y coordinate. So let's frame the question. It usually comes like this. Considering, let me write it, then we'll read it. Considering, okay, so this is typically how they frame this type of question. So considering a unit circle whose coordinate is, they open the parentheses, square root of 2 divided by 2 comma Y. So determine the Y coordinate so that you know the entire point. And then after determining the Y coordinate, the question could also be determine the angle. So let's add the question too. Also determine. Okay, so after determining your Y, you will use those values to determine the angle. So the question reads once again, considering a unit circle whose coordinate is square root of 2 divided by 2 comma Y, determine the Y coordinate, period. Then secondly, determine the angle made by the coordinate X and Y. All right, so this is A and this is B. So let's try to figure it out. And usually we write our solution. All right. So now you can see what the general equation of a unit circle formula is. This is basically Pythagorean theorem. So that's what we are going to use. So you say using x squared plus y squared equal to 1, which is general equation of unit circle. All right. So all we got to do at this point is to plug in the numbers that we have. So now looking at the coordinate again, which side is looking at this? What's the value of x? Hello? What's the value of x, ladies and gentlemen?
Is it 1?
The value of x.
Isn't it square root 2 over 2?
Exactly, that's what it is. So that's what you are given anyway. That's what you are given. Even if they don't draw the diagram. So we just happen to have drawn the diagram. In many questions, they won't even draw the diagram. So when they create this scenario, you will use it to sketch your diagram if that is necessary. So the x is square root of 2 divided by 2. So you're squaring everything. And that's plus y squared. And that's equal to 1. Okay? So now in this problem, we are going to solve everything and leave it as a fraction, the way the coordinate system was given to us. They gave it to us in fractions. So we are going to analyze everything and leave it also as a fraction. The calculator we used was just to help us to determine whether that x is actually less than 1. Because for a unit circle, that coordinate of x and coordinate of y must be less than 1. All right. So now we have a little challenge here. The challenge is we have to evaluate this. So in order to evaluate this, what do you think we should do? Give me an idea, please, ladies and gentlemen.
You can isolate the y.
Okay, so even before we isolate the y, can you evaluate this, the one I'm highlighting right now, so that it will no longer have a square root?
Yeah, you can square 2. You can square the square root of 2. It becomes 2, and the 2 on the bottom becomes 4. So it's 1/2.
Okay, it sounds good. Here's what he said. Let me write it beside. He said, do square root of 2 divided by 2 multiply by square root of 2 divided by 2. Is that what you said, Victor?
No, I was just saying you can like you can distribute the square root or the power into the square root of 2 and the 2
yes.
on the.
Okay, that's correct. That's correct. He's saying that you can do square root of 2 whole square divided by 2 squared. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, both of them are the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both of them are the same because this one, the numerator is still going to be square root of 4, which is 2. The denominator is still going to be 4. So you are having 2 over 4, right? 2 over 4 gives you 1 over 2. So you have 1 over 2 here plus y squared equal to 1 over 1. Okay, so it is at this point that you can actually isolate the value of y. So what shall we do to do that, please? I need another person who hasn't spoken. Sarah, go ahead. What shall we do in order to isolate y?
You would subtract 1/2 and then square root the equation on the right side.
Okay, so let's do it one after the other. So she said we have to subtract 1/2 from both sides. So we have to do 1 over 2 minus 1 over 2 plus y squared equal to 1 over 1 minus 1 over 2. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, and then 1 over 2 divided by 1 over 2 crosses out. So you'll be left with the right side to simplify. So how do we do that? This is like 4th grade now. Go. Another person, please. Y squared. Another person who hasn't spoken, please. I'm going to call name. Brenda, go. What do we do in order to simplify this? Lowest common denominator is 2, right? So 2 divided by 1 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So you have 2 minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So basically you have y squared is equal to 1 minus 1 is 1. 1 over 2. Okay. Next, How do we solve for y? Next person who hasn't spoken. Bianca, go. How do we solve for y?
You use square root,
Square root one side or both sides?
both sides.
Thank you. So she said we should square root. So let's square root both sides. Square root both sides. And if we do that, that's going to give us square root of y squared equal to square root of 1/2. You see, and then the left side is going to give us y, and then the right side is going to give us square root of 1 divided by square root of 2. All right. Okay, so let's continue. So what's square root of 1? Square root of 1 is what? You can use your calculator. It's 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move a little bit faster. Square root of 1 is 1. And then square root of 2. So at this point, we have to rationalize the denominator. At this point, we have to rationalize the denominator. You see, and that was why we did that rationalizing of denominator in a previous class. So let's do it by the side. Let's do it by the side. Or at least I will write it by the side. So I need help now. How do we rationalize the denominator? How do we rationalize 1/square root of 2? I need somebody who hasn't spoken.
Don't we got to do like, don't we got to flip it? Or that's wrong.
No, you won't. You are not supposed to flip it. Who else hasn't spoken? Tyler, Allen, please go. How do you rationalize this denominator?
Don't you multiply?
You can multiply something, but I want to find out what we are supposed to multiply.
Yeah, like, I mean, you like, how do I explain it? It's like you take the square root of 2 and you multiply by 1/square root of 2 as well. You cross multiply.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. That's correct. That's correct. So let's do what Abu said. So it's going to be 1/square root of 2 multiplied by square root of 2 divided by square root of 2. That's what he said. All right. So then the numerator becomes square root of 2 and denominator becomes square root of 4. So square root of 4 is what? Square root of 4 is what?
It's 2.
2. Okay, good. So now we have obtained that our y, so we come back here and say y is equal to square root of 2/2. All right? So in this particular case, it just happens that the value of x and y happens to be the same. So even if you come back to your circle, now that you found y, you can also say that it is square root of 2/2. So that's how to, all we have just done so far is we have manipulated a set of numbers and that gave us a result. And that's just the first part of it. And if you take a look at all the things we have just done right now, all we have just used is Pythagorean theorem. That's all. And then we manipulated fraction. That's all we did. Nothing strange, nothing new.